Picture this, you've got this really overcast sky.
Right, very gray.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of flat, slightly chilly gray light that just makes everything look a bit, I don't know, a bit muted.
Oh, totally. Like a really dull afternoon.
Right. And against this completely dull background, at an outdoor glamping site of all places, you have these sudden blinding pops of color.
The tracksuits.
Yes. Bright red, vivid purple, and these aggressively baggy jeans. We're talking like tracksuits that look like they belong in a retro catalog from the late 90s.
It's quite a look.
It really is. And, who is wearing them? Some of the most highly respected, fiercely competitive musical artists in the industry right now.
Which is just so jarring to see.
Exactly. But they aren't looking cool. They aren't striking poses or, laying down flawless vocal runs.
No, not at all.
Instead, they are hunched over, their faces completely contorted into these expressions of sheer, unadulterated desperation, aggressively sucking black grape juice through plastic novelty straws shaped like oversized eyeglasses.
It is quite the visual contrast. I mean, you take these individuals who are accustomed to controlling every single aspect of their sonic and visual environment.
Yeah, every detail is usually perfect.
Exactly. And you drop them into a scenario that actively dismantles their dignity. To see them swap the meticulously designed stage lighting for like a cloudy afternoon by a basketball court.
Just a concrete court.
Right, a concrete court, trading their microphones for plastic tubing. I mean, it's a fascinating pivot.
It really is. So, welcome to Future_Music Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the fundamental premise of our discussion today, the bedrock we are building this entire deep dive on, is this concept that famous singers need hit songs.
Right, that's the core of it all.
Yeah, and to get those hit songs, to collaborate effectively, and to survive the pressure cooker of this industry, they need more than just raw vocal talent.
Or a great producer.
Exactly. They need to understand each other. They need to figure out how to operate in the same ecosystem without, completely tearing each other apart.
And that ecosystem is incredibly delicate. And to truly understand the strategic value of what we are analyzing today, we have to really look at the timeline.
The timeline is so important here.
It is. Because the intense digital song competition phase, that incredibly high-stakes race where every single stream, every download, every chart position was a literal battleground, that phase is entirely closed.
Done and dusted.
Right. It is done. You, the listener, already know exactly who won that race. The numbers are in. The songs have been out in the wild.
The digital dust has completely settled. And keep in mind, we are currently just 3 weeks away from finally seeing the ultimate culmination of all this work.
The live stage.
Yes, the final performance on the live stage, which, as a reminder, was already taped last April 14th. So what we're looking at today in this Korean YouTube teaser for episodes 15 and 16 is essentially found footage.
Right, like looking back in time.
Yeah, it's a look back at moments that were taped right in the middle of those high-stakes competition days.
And it serves as a psychological pressure valve. I mean, the producers of the show didn't just stumble into this setup.
No, it's very intentional.
Extremely. Removing these artists from the isolation of the recording booth, taking them away from the polished mirrors of the dance studio, and placing them on an outdoor basketball court at a glamping site.
No gym this time.
Right, no gym. An outdoor glamping site. It is a highly calculated environmental shift.
Absolutely. So my goal today is to act as your analyst. I want to look closely at the unspoken cues we are seeing, the deep cultural context of these specific Korean variety games, and the actual mechanics of how camaraderie is engineered.
Because it is engineered.
It is, because looking at this footage, it's not just adults goofing off. There's an architecture to this chaos.
And I'll be focusing on what's going on in their heads, right? The emotional profiles of these artists.
Which is fascinating.
It really is.
Yeah.
How do they navigate their own pride when they are thrust into ridiculous situations? How do they process sudden embarrassment? And most importantly, how do they build genuine teamwork when they are completely stripped of their musical armor?
Because they really are stripped of it here.
Completely. Because ultimately creating these bonds of shared vulnerability is how you reduce the interpersonal friction that destroys so many collaborations.
That friction can be so damaging.
Right. It creates so much unnecessary suffering behind the scenes. By forcing them to understand one another on this fundamental, slightly absurd level, you're actually increasing the overall creative prosperity of their shared musical universe.
I love that.
You are alleviating the isolation that so many solo artists feel and replacing it with a resilient, interconnected network. So you increase understanding and everyone benefits.
I really like how you phrased that, alleviating the isolation to increase their shared prosperity. It gives a really noble purpose to a game involving grape juice.
It sounds silly, but it's true.
It is. So let's look at the actual setting of this retreat. The artists are all wearing these matching, color-coded, custom t-shirts and tracksuits.
Which is such a specific visual.
Totally. We mentioned the red team, the purple team, the baggy jeans crew. And the weather is, well, it's not exactly a picturesque sunny day at the beach.
No, not at all.
It's overcast. It looks a bit chilly. They are at this outdoor glamping site with a basketball court. What does this specific environment tell us?
Well, that environmental detail is actually paramount. The slight physical discomfort of the chill, combined with the uniformity of the tracksuits, immediately signals a departure from their autonomous, comfortable lives.
They aren't in charge anymore.
Exactly. In Korean culture, this specific setup is a well-known archetype. It's the MT, or membership training.
The famous MT?
Right. You see this constantly in university settings, corporate workshops, and among production crews.
Yeah, it's like the classic corporate team building retreat, but, dialed up significantly. I think anyone who has ever had to do a trust fall in a hotel conference room can relate to the vibe.
Oh, for sure.
Even if the activities are totally different.
It shares that DNA, but the underlying philosophy of the MT is a bit more pointed. It's designed to take a group of people who operate within a strict hierarchy.
Which the Korean music industry absolutely is.
Right, with its clear divisions between senior producers, veteran artists, and younger rookies. It takes that hierarchy and subjects them to a series of highly competitive yet fundamentally silly games.
And the silliness is the point.
The silliness isn't an accident. It is the crucial mechanism. I mean, you cannot maintain an aura of unapproachable seniority or aloof coolness when you are participating in a three-legged race.
Or, drinking juice out of a novelty straw.
Exactly. It forcibly flattens the hierarchy.
It's a structural tool for forced humility, and we are seeing all the classic Korean variety show tropes being deployed to enhance this flattening effect.
The editing is doing a ton of work here.
So much work. We have these floating captions popping up on the screen, which essentially act as a secondary omniscient narrator.
I love those captions.
They are so good. They aren't just translating dialogue, they are editorializing the internal thoughts of the artists for the audience.
Those captions are a brilliant comedic device. They externalize the subtext. If an artist tries to hide their frustration behind a polite smile,
the caption will just call them out.
right, the caption will explicitly point out the frustration, effectively robbing the artist of their defensive stoicism.
You can't hide from the editors.
You really can't. Furthermore, consider the use of drone shots in this sequence. You have these sweeping cinematic aerial views of the glamping site.
It looks so dramatic, like the opening of a high-stakes survival movie or a massive nature documentary.
And that grand scale is intentionally juxtaposed with the absolute triviality of the games they are playing down on the ground.
It's so funny.
It's a visual punchline. The grandiosity of their celebrity status versus the mundane reality of playing games on a concrete court. It highlights the transition from untouchable artist to colorful game piece.
Colorful game piece, right.
The bright tracksuits against that muted gray sky visually reinforce this. They stand out, they look a bit cartoonish, and that is entirely the point.
Their flawless image is just being systematically overwritten by this vibrant communal absurdity.
Beautifully put.
Okay, so it's like a psychological sandbox. You take these highly stressed, highly competitive adults, put them in a brightly colored enclosed space, hand them some toys, and basically give them permission to act like children.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
The goal is to reset their stress levels, to give them a break from the relentless pressure of needing hit songs. But wait, let me push back on this idea of the MT being a purely relaxing mechanism.
Okay, go ahead.
Does forcing these artists into a playful environment actually relieve the tension of the musical competition? Or does it just take all that pent-up hyper-competitiveness and, I don't know, channel it into a different, equally intense outlet?
That's a fantastic distinction to make. I would argue that it absolutely does not extinguish their competitive drive.
Right, they are still who they are.
Exactly. You can't take people who have clawed their way to the top of the music industry and simply turn off their desire to win. It merely reroutes it.
It's just a new target.
Right. The tension is still there, but by changing the stakes from, I need a career-defining hit song to secure my future, to, I really need to win this game of basketball, you allow them to engage in conflict without the existential dread associated with their actual professions.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's a lower-stakes arena. but the psychological machinery of wanting to dominate remains fully operational.
And man, does that hyper-competitiveness bubble to the surface almost immediately. The second a basketball is introduced, the sandbox turns into a gladiator arena.
It really does.
Let's look at the captain's duel. We have Kim Jaemin and Dorado, who have been chosen as team captains, and they are facing off in a one-on-one basketball game.
Just a simple one-on-one.
Yeah, it's a simple race to 5 points, but wow, the intensity.
And before the ball is even checked, the psychological warfare commences. This is where we see the interplay of emotional intelligence and tactical disruption.
Oh, the trash talk.
Exactly. Dorado initiates this by calling Kim Jaemin Jamin.
Jamin. Okay, let's explain this for the listener because it's such a specific, brilliant linguistic strike.
It really is. In Korean internet culture, Jamin is a slang term used to describe an elementary school kid.
Like a little kid.
Right, but specifically, it denotes a kid who is loud, slightly annoying, immature, and overly eager.
That is so specific.
It is. By employing this pun on his name, calling him Jamin instead of Kim Jaemin and Dorado is executing a strategic dismantling of his authority.
She is basically looking at the team captain and saying, I don't respect your title, and I'm going to treat you like a bothersome child who talks too much in class.
And you can see it instantly gets under his skin.
Oh, completely. You can see it in the physical space they occupy once the match actually starts. Kim Jaemin goes all out.
He really overcompensates.
He does. He is using this incredibly aggressive, low defensive stance. He is body blocking her. He is spreading his arms wide, taking up as much physical space on the court as possible, trying to assert pure physical dominance.
You can see his whole body language change. He's relying entirely on force and proximity to intimidate her.
But she doesn't bite.
No, Dorado, conversely, refuses to play his game. She counters this with fluid, evasive agility. She won't engage in the physical clash she's trying to initiate.
She just sort of glides around him.
Exactly. She slips around him. And what's fascinating here is how the camera captures the resulting emotional fallout. The camera deliberately lingers on Kim Jaemin, repeatedly wiping sweat from his face.
No, it's incredible comedic framing. He is trying so hard to project this aura of being a stoic, effortless athlete.
Right, the cool guy.
Yeah, he wants to look like he's just casually playing some hoops on a Sunday afternoon, but his own biology is betraying him.
He is breathing so heavily.
He is sweating profusely, and editors make sure we see every single drop.
It completely undermines his facade. And the dialogue perfectly mirrors this physical unraveling. There is a moment where Kim Jaemin, clearly frustrated by Dorado's evasive play and his own exertion, stops and asks, "Can I play for real? Can I play properly?"
Oh man, the subtext there is so thick you could cut it with a knife.
It is entirely about wounded pride.
Right.
He is struggling to dominate, and he needs a narrative to justify that struggle to himself and to the cameras.
He needs an out.
Yes. By asking if he can play for real, he is attempting to construct an excuse. The only reason you are keeping up with me is because I have been going easy on you. He is trying to reclaim the power dynamic.
And Dorado just shuts that down instantly. She doesn't miss a single beat. She fires back, what? You weren't playing for real.
It's such a great response.
It strips away his entire excuse. She is letting him know, I see you sweating. I know you were trying your hardest, and I am still not intimidated.
Her emotional state throughout this is just brilliant.
She is so calm.
She is amused, she is confident, and she knows exactly how much her absolute lack of sweat is bothering him.
That's the best part. She isn't even sweating.
It is a profound study in contrasting emotional regulation. Kim Jaemin's intense desire to win creates physiological stress, which manifests as sweat and heavy breathing, contradicting the cool persona he wishes to project.
And she is just chilling.
Right, Dorado remains unbothered, which is arguably the most effective offensive strategy you can deploy against someone who is trying that hard.
Now, to be fair to Kim Jaemin, he does actually win the game.
He does, yeah.
The final score is 5-3. He hits the rim, the ball goes in a bit awkwardly, but he gets the point. But it's what he says immediately after winning that is so telling.
Right, the post-game interview.
Someone asks why they are so good, and he says, I went easy on her on purpose.
A textbook face-saving defense mechanism.
Absolutely textbook.
He achieved the victory, but he is acutely aware that the process of winning made him look desperate. So he attempts to retroactively rewrite the narrative of the match to restore his dignity.
It makes me think of a peacock. You know, a peacock throws up this massive, beautiful fan of feathers to look intimidating and impressive.
Sure.
But imagine a peacock trying to do that in a windstorm. The display is there, The intent to look majestic is there, but the elements in this case, his own sweat and Dorado's psychological jabs, are just blowing his feathers backward.
That is a brilliant analogy.
He looks slightly ridiculous despite his best efforts, but hold on, let me stop you there for a second. Are we reading too much into this?
What do you mean?
I mean, Dorado calling him a little kid and poking fun at his sweat. Couldn't that just be standard sibling rivalry? Not some grand tactical dismantling of his authority, but just friends messing with each other.
Well, that is the exact crux of why the MP culture works. It is both.
Oh, both. Okay.
Yes. The sibling-like dynamic is the prerequisite that allows for the strategic dismantling without causing permanent interpersonal damage.
Right, because if they hated each other, it would just be mean.
Exactly. Because they have established a foundational trust, they can engage in this performative hostility. It tests boundaries and builds resilience.
So it's safe.
It is safe.
Yeah.
If a stranger called him Jamin, it would be a severe insult. When Dorado does it, it's a recalibration of their relationship, proving that their bond can withstand friction.
And you need that, right? That makes a lot of sense. It's like a stress test for their friendship.
Precisely.
Which is exactly what they need when they get back to the studio. That ability to challenge each other without breaking the relationship.
It ultimately increases their understanding of one another.
Okay, so the captains have established their dominance, sweaty or otherwise. They draft their teams. Kim Jaemin drafts Sadu and Jiri, creating the Gyu-Jae-Seo team.
Right.
And Dorado drafts Seo and Lee Owook, creating the Seodu-I team. And this transitions us from a game that somewhat respects physical prowess to an event that completely obliterates any remaining shred of their cool celebrity dignity.
Indeed it does. We move from the basketball court to a challenge that is inherently absurd, the lung capacity draft and duels.
Oh my goodness, the grape juice.
Yes.
The producers wheel out these cups of black liquid, which thankfully turns out to be just grape juice and not some, awful punishment drink.
A small mercy.
Right, but the catch is the delivery mechanism. They have to drink this grape juice through these absurdly long novelty plastic straws that are shaped like eyeglasses.
It's quite the contraption.
It is. The straw loops over their ears, circles their eyes, and then goes down into the cup.
If we look at the physical constraints imposed by this handicap, the prop itself dictates their posture.
You can't stand up.
Exactly. To drink from a cup using a straw that loops around your face, you cannot stand up straight. You can't even sit up straight. You are forced into a highly unnatural, hunched, almost fetal posture.
You literally look like a gargoyle hunched over a tiny cup.
That's exactly it. The body language of power and athleticism we just saw on the basketball court is completely neutralized.
Rigged out.
We go from aggressive posturing and taking up space to wide-eyed, cheek-sucking desperation. The physical prop acts as a mechanism to forcibly strip away the celebrity aura.
And the matchups are fantastic. Round 1 is a rematch. Dorado versus Kim Jaemin.
The grudge match.
And Dorado just destroys him. She finishes her juice incredibly fast. It's a swift, decisive revenge for the basketball game.
She was very efficient.
Then round 2, we have Sadu against Lee Owook. And Sadu manages to win that one. But what is truly captivating here isn't who wins or loses, it's the faces they are making while they do it.
Oh, the facial expressions are everything here.
They are so good.
The micro-expressions of embarrassment are profound, particularly from Sadu and Lee Owook. You can see the exact moment their awareness catches up with their physical reality.
It hits them like a ton of bricks.
It does. They are sitting there sucking frantically on a plastic tube winding around their eyes, and a flash of realization hits them. I look utterly ridiculous right now.
You can see it in their eyes, the horror of realizing this is being filmed.
Yes, but what is structurally important for group cohesion is how rapidly that embarrassment is overridden by fierce, competitive determination.
They just push through it.
They do. The desire to win for the team supersedes the desire to protect their individual ego. This specific game serves as a profound equalizer.
It really does level the playing field. You can't rely on the fact that you have perfect pitch or that you can hit a high C or that you have a great jump shot.
That matters.
Right. Your immense talent is completely irrelevant here. You are reduced to basic lung capacity and your willingness to look foolish on camera.
A total reduction of status.
It's like trying to play a symphony on a kazoo. It requires immense breath control, sure, but the result produced is inherently comedic.
I love that comparison.
No matter how seriously you take the kazoo, you still sound like a duck. No matter how hard you compete in this grape juice game, you still look like a cartoon character.
That is a very apt analogy. The effort required is high, but the aesthetic output is incredibly low. It forces a complete surrender of vanity.
So think about the trust required to do that. Think about letting yourself look this absurd, knowing there are cameras recording every frantic gulp, knowing the floating captions are going to mock you in post-production.
It takes a lot.
It does. How does this shared vulnerability, this collective surrender of vanity accelerate group cohesion? Because they're going back to the studio together soon.
Well, vulnerability is the cornerstone of trust. In a creative environment, artists are constantly asked to share raw, unpolished ideas.
Which is terrifying for an artist.
Exactly. That requires trust that they won't be mocked or dismissed. By participating in this MT, by looking foolish together and surviving the embarrassment, they are unconsciously building a psychological safety net.
They realize it's okay to fail.
Yes. They are learning that they can fail, look silly, and still be accepted by the group. This reduction in the fear of judgment directly increases their capacity for creative risk-taking.
That makes total sense.
It helps them understand each other on a more human level, which, ultimately increases the potential prosperity of their musical output.
They are building the muscle of trust through grape juice. It's wild.
It really is.
But this individual absurdity, these one-on-one duels, they were just a warm-up.
Oh, just the beginning.
They were just stretching the ego before tearing it completely apart, because the climax of this deep dive takes us from individual effort to the absolute chaos of forced cooperation.
The transition to synchronized group effort is where the true pressure is applied.
We move to the three-point final round. The score is tied, or at least the stakes have been raised so that this final round decides everything.
The ultimate test.
And the producers bring out the Ding Bomb Tea Edition straw.
This is a masterstroke of design for inducing chaos.
It is genuinely diabolical. Instead of individual glasses straws, it is one single continuous straw system linked to 3 pairs of glasses.
It looks so complicated.
It is. All 3 members of the team jury, Kim Jaemin and Sado on one side, and Sohee, Dorado, and Lee Oh-wook on the other, have to wear the glasses and drink simultaneously from the same central source.
The physical mechanics demand 3 times the lung capacity to move the liquid through the expanded distance of the tubing.
That's exhausting just to think about.
But more importantly, it requires absolute synchronization. If one person stops pulling, the vacuum is compromised. It forces a state of absolute interdependence. You cannot succeed alone.
And while the Siduai team, Dorado's team, starts off strong and is really cruising, the Gujai-seo team struggles almost immediately.
They just can't get the rhythm.
No, they get team killed by the physics of the straw. One person falters and they all lose suction. So what do Kim Jaemin and Sado do when their physical effort fails?
They pivot.
They abandon the drinking entirely and resort to psychological warfare, and they do it through proximity.
This is a fascinating escalation. They shift their strategy from trying to win the physical task to trying to break the focus of their opponent.
It's so petty.
It is. They physically invade the personal space of the Siduai team.
They lean right into their faces, they're inches away, and they start making these loud, rhythmic, incredibly distracting noises.
Just absolute nonsense syllables.
Right. They're yelling, "Pop-pop-pop-pop-bam, pop-pop-pop-bang," right in their ears. The editing here goes wild, using split screens to create this head-to-head fighting game aesthetic.
It's brilliant visual storytelling.
It highlights the stark contrast so well. You have the drinkers desperately trying to maintain their vacuum seal and their composure, and the distractors acting like complete agents of chaos.
We are witnessing a deliberate mental overload tactic.
Mental overload, exactly.
The Siduai team is already using significant focus to maintain the physical action of synchronized drinking. By introducing sudden, loud, rhythmic auditory stimuli and invading their physical boundaries, Kim Jaemin and Sado are attempting to shatter their concentration.
They are trying to cause a glitch.
Right. It induces a state of panic.
And you can feel the frustration because suddenly your success isn't just up to you. You're relying entirely on your teammates' lung capacity, and you are trying to block out this insane noise pollution from the opposing team.
It's a lot to process at once.
And this is exactly where we see Seohee's breaking point.
Her reaction is the emotional apex of the entire sequence.
She is trying so hard to hold it together. She yells out, "Stop making me laugh," but it's a losing battle.
You can see the smile breaking through.
The sheer absurdity of the situation, the glasses, the grape juice traveling through the plastic, her teammates sucking desperately, and Kim Jaemin yelling, "Bam," right next to her. It all collides.
It's just too much.
She finally bursts into uncontrollable laughter and literally spits the black grape juice out.
Let us examine that specific moment. Her laughter is not merely amusement, it is a physical and psychological release valve.
A release valve, I like that.
Yes, it is a collision of physical overwhelm, the inability to maintain the breath control, and the sheer, unadulterated joy of the absurdity.
Pure joy.
The structured competition collapses entirely into pure, messy humanity.
It's beautiful, honestly. Even though her team, the CODY team, ultimately wins the game after they reset, it's what the captions call an uncomfortable victory.
A very sticky victory.
Very sticky. There is juice spilled everywhere, including on people's heads. It's chaotic. It's like, imagine trying to run a three-legged race. That's hard enough.
Right.
Now imagine doing it in a quiet library. And now imagine people are standing right next to you shouting nonsense at the top of their lungs while you try to coordinate your steps.
It's impossible.
The breakdown is inevitable.
And, the inevitability of the breakdown is the entire point of the exercise.
Which brings up a really great question. Does the success of Kim Jaemin's distraction tactic, the fact that yelling nonsense caused COE to break, prove that in these high-pressure, forced cooperation games, psychological endurance is actually much more fragile than physical endurance?
I believe so, without a doubt.
Really?
Yes, because physical endurance has measurable biological limits. You run out of breath, your muscles fatigue. But psychological endurance is predicated on context and emotional regulation.
So it's more delicate.
Much more. When the context becomes sufficiently absurd, the human mind struggles to maintain a serious, goal-oriented framework.
You just can't take it seriously anymore.
Exactly. Laughter is an involuntary reflex to the breakdown of expected norms. They didn't lose their physical capability to drink juice. They lost the mental ability to suppress the joy of the chaos.
The joy of the chaos. I think that perfectly encapsulates what we are looking at. We've gone from the cold, calculated environment of the digital song competition to the warm, messy joy of spitting grape juice on a glamping site.
It is a necessary pendulum swing.
So let's synthesize what we've learned today in this deep dive. We've spent time looking at these seemingly silly games, the sweaty desperation on the basketball court, the absurd indignity of the novelty glasses, the chaotic laughter of the three-point straw challenge.
All of it?
But as we've discussed, these aren't just outtakes. They serve a vital, deeply strategic purpose.
They are tools for emotional excavation.
Wow, emotional excavation.
Yes. They systematically strip away the protective, professional layers that these artists have built up during the intense digital competition phase.
Breaking down those walls.
By forcing them to experience embarrassment, frustration, and ultimately uncontrollable laughter together, the MT environment leaves them emotionally raw, but deeply connected.
They know each other better now.
Exactly. They become highly attuned to one another's breaking points and communication styles.
And the relevance here, whether you are listening as a massive fan of the show or you're sitting in a corporate office or working on a group project, is that true collaboration often requires a willingness to look foolish together.
It really does. You have to let your guard down.
The bonds that are forged in these moments of shared absurdity, when your ego is completely dismantled and you are just a human being struggling with a plastic straw, those bonds are often the strongest and most resilient.
I couldn't agree more.
It reduces the friction of future collaborations and helps everyone understand each other better.
It replaces guarded professionalism with empathetic understanding.
Which increases the prosperity of whatever universe you're working in, musical or otherwise. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought. A question to mull over as you go about your day.
Think about the timeline.
Yes, we know the timeline. We know that these artists spent days in an incredibly intense, high-stakes competition over digital streams and chart positions, and now, in this footage taped during that same period, we see them competing in pure, joyful chaos.
The contrast is striking.
It is. So knowing that the final live stage, the ultimate test of their performance abilities, was taped on April 14th, just 3 weeks away from the very moment they were spitting grape juice on that basketball court, how will this profound, messy camaraderie translate into the energy they bring to that stage?
It's going to be fascinating to see.
Does laughing with your rivals until you literally spit grape juice out of your nose?
Yeah.
Does that shared vulnerability make you a more fearless performer when the lights finally go down and the music starts? Think about it. We'll see you on the next deep dive.